Hello, this is Linda from Knowledge and Beauty. Today I'm going to be doing a Get Ready With Me, talking about a very important topic, racism, and specifically racism and the police. Let's get into it. Before we really get into this topic, let's discuss what racism even is, because it's always good to have a common understanding of what we're even talking about. To a lot of people, they think racism is just people on an individual scale being mean to others because of their color of their skin or their race. However, this isn't the total definition. We live in a racist society. We have systemic racism. That means that all our institutions, our norms, our culture, it's all racist. Here's one definition of racism from a sociology textbook. The systemic subordination of members of targeted racial groups who have relatively little social power in the United States: Blacks, Latinx, Native Americans, and Asians, by the members of the agent racial group who have relatively more social power: Whites. This subordination is supported by the actions of individuals, cultural norms and values, and the institutional structures and practices of the society. So what does that mean? Now, I know some people get upset when they say that racism can only be perpetrated by white people. And while yes, there can be bias against white people, or there could be prejudice against white people, there cannot be racism against white people, because racism is about power dynamics, power structures. So since in the United States, whites are the majority social group with the power, then they do not experience racism against them. When we say systemic racism, what do we mean? We mean that the institutions, such as in this case the police, are set up to harm people and disadvantage people of minority social groups. Now, I know when you start talking about racism and the police, people, they go, well, I have a neighbor who's a cop. I have a family member who's a cop. They're good people. They may be. And the majority of cops may be a good people. But that does not mean that one bad apple or a couple bad apples myth is true. It is not. Now, in July of 2019, there was an article posted on BuzzFeed, which I know we don't all go to for breaking journalism, but they do sometimes have valid journalistic articles. This one was done in combination with Injustice Watch. It was a study of police social media. Now, when they were surveying the police social media, they found that 1 in 5, 20% of cops, so not a few bad apples, a pervasive systemic problem, 1 in 5 had posted racist or violent posts. Several were even members of far-right groups and hate groups. So what does it matter if these cops were posting racist, misogynistic, homophobic, violent posts? Well, these cops who posted these things also tended to have records of racist behavior. They had They had misconduct reports into them. They had investigations of their behavior. These posts were directly correlated with bad policing behavior. So you can't say, oh, they're just saying this stuff, oh, it's just words, because it has a direct effect on their behavior. And another important thing to note is these weren't just rookie cops. These weren't just young people just getting into policing who are young and naive. 64% of the people posting these things were people in positions of power, captains, people with within the higher level structures of the police department. I will be posting sources down below to back up everything I am saying, and so you can explore yourself. So how does this connect with what's going on right now? How many times in the news do we see that the police have killed someone who is a person of color? How many names do we have to list of the people who the police killed? Just in recent days, there's Breonna Taylor. There's George Floyd. Ahmaud Arbery's murderer, Gregory McMichael, was an ex-cop. This pervasive racism within the police system is what is causing all these murderers, which is what they are. Death by cop, that's murder. And they're getting away with it because they know everyone within the justice system. So are these other cops going to arrest their buddy? Are they going to, is the prosecutor who they've worked with going to take that case forward? No, because they may share these ideas. And two, they know the person. So they have a connection with them. They have a personal relationship. So they get away with it. There's also been a concerted effort by hate groups, by racist organizations, to infiltrate these police departments, to gain this power, and to manipulate the forces towards these actions. So how did we get here? How did we end up with such a racist police force? That may well be because the police force origins are racist. They originated with slave catchers. Policing as we know it is actually a relatively modern concept. It used to be neighbors in the beginning of the country, even before it was a country, neighbors would, in a community, would take turns being the night watch. And this had many issues as many of them slept during their watch, or they got drunk, or they were a rich person and they didn't want to do it, so they hired criminals to be the ones watching out for crime. One of the early forms of the police force, one of the origins of it, were these slave catchers. Their jobs were to make sure that no black people were walking around after curfew, and those who were walking around had a pass, simply to be out in the community at large. They had to have a pass from their owner. The palette I'm using is the Nubian 3 Coral from Juvias Place. After slavery ended, the new police force was built from these slave catchers. And it was used in the same ways to terrorize black people and to keep them in a state of oppression still. So it completely makes sense that these police forces would still have a problem of racism when at their origins they were racist. So what can we do about this racism, specifically as white people? So what can we as white people do to combat this racism? Number 1, educate ourselves. I will list some resources down below, but read books by Black authors, read books about racism, read articles about it, follow Black creators, follow people who are the leaders in anti-racist movements. Number 2, once you're educated, educate others. If you see racism, call it out. But the best way to do it is always from a place of compassion. If you're just attacking someone, they're less likely to listen. So try and do it from a place of compassion. Try and do it from a place of education and kindness. But do not let hate stand. How else can you help? This is where we get into actions. 1, specifically in this makeup space, don't support brands that are known to be racist, two-faced. 2, call for brands to have inclusive shade ranges, to include everyone, to make sure everyone can participate in our community and have the same level of resources available to them that they can use. But these are just specific to our community. Also, watch Black creators. Nappy Headed Jojoba, Alicia from Kinky Sweat. There are tons of great people of color creators. And watching them, you get a perspective that you don't always get from white creators. They may talk about issues that you're not aware of. On a broader scale, you can write to your 1, vote for candidates who have platforms and have voting histories of supporting people of color. Vote for candidates who in their platforms have issues that affect these communities. Don't vote for candidates who are harmful to these communities, who put in place policies that negatively affect them. Write to your senators and representatives about issues that directly affect people of color, and organize, join groups to where the power is more concentrated. If you have multiple people writing in about this topic, they'll be more likely to listen. Share posts on social media about these issues. And listen. listen to black people. Listen to people of other races. When they tell you their experiences, don't invalidate them. Don't say, oh yes, but. Don't say, but what about? But what about? Women, try and think of it as when you are trying to explain issues that affect women to men. Think about the responses that hurt you when they respond to them. And try and apply the same logic, the same standpoint to when you're listening to black people. Don't automatically get defensive and be like, oh, they're talking about me, or they're attacking me. No, they're sharing their experience with you. One good suggestion I saw was to decolonize your bookshelf. Now, what does this mean? This means if you look at your bookshelf and most of the authors are white, add in some black authors, add in some people of color authors, and purge your bookshelf of openly racist texts. When you have in your hands the perspectives of other people, it helps you understand them more. It helps you understand their issues and be more educated on it. Try and not look at issues as if white is the default. In television, watch shows with black characters, black leads. Make sure that the makers of this media know that we want people of color representation. I'll provide resources below to help you in this, to give you places to start at. Let's go forward trying to be the best allies that we can be. When there are protests held about the deaths of these people killed by the police, attend them. These are not just black issues. These are issues that affect everyone. We need to have a society where everyone is treated equally. Everyone has the same opportunities. And we need to address our own privilege and use that privilege to help them. When I say white privilege, here are some examples. The ability to be pulled over by the police and know you're not going to not have to worry about being hurt. To know that if you don't get into a school you want, it has nothing to do with your race. That if you don't get hired at a job, you know it's not because of your race. The ability to walk down a street or have an interaction at a store and not be harassed. The very things we take for granted, that we're just like, everyone should be treated like this, everyone should be treated like a human being. Some people aren't. My camera was off, and I don't remember what I was saying. I did my brows and put on mascara. One thing I want to go back to earlier is I mentioned don't buy from brands that are racist, but another thing you can do is purposely buy from brands that are black owned, that are Latina owned, that are people of color owned. Purposely support these communities monetarily. Just to sum up, the police are definitely racist to 20% of them have been found posting racist, violent, misogynistic content. Many of them have been found to be part of white supremacist groups, who have been found to be members of hate groups. The reason they're killing black people is that it's a systemic problem. It's not just a few bad apples. It's 1 in 5 that we know of that have posted something. Stop defending police officers with, it's not all police officers. It may not be all police officers. We've seen it's not all police officers in the statistics. But that doesn't excuse the ones who it is. And it is a pervasive problem. Listen to black people. Put the importance of their lives above your personal feelings of wanting to defend the police officers in your life. If they want to focus on it's not all police officers, then they need to act in a way that purposefully counteracts the bad police officers. Remember that the roots of policing are racist and are enslaved patrols. And remember that we need to be allies. We need to do something about this because people are dying. Let me put my lipstick on, and that's about all for today. Please take this issue seriously. Please look into yourself and your own behavior and realize that we live in a racist society and that there may be beliefs and ideals and unconscious beliefs and ideas that we've been socialized into believing, and we don't even realize them within ourselves. And we need to locate what those are, seek them out within ourselves, and actively counter them. We can't just be like, this isn't happening to me, so I don't care. It's people's lives. We need to care about them. We need to care that this is happening. And this is widespread. Our society is racist. It's built on racist systems. It's built on racist institutions. It's built on slavery. Those things just didn't go away when we got the Civil Rights Act of 1965 or when slavery was eliminated. It turned into the prison complex, but we can talk about that another day. We need to do something. We need to support our sisters and brothers, and there are resources I'm including below to help you out on this journey, to help educate yourself, to help guide you in future actions. Please, please take this issue seriously. Thank you. That's the end of this video. If you feel that this message is important, please share this video with someone. Discuss these issues. Discuss these issues with your white friends. Discuss these issues with your black friends, and don't do it in a defensive way. Thank you. Have a good day.